Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, along with Professor O, who is with us from his study in Oklahoma while I'm here in my study in Texas. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be talking about heist movies. And we've been talking a little bit before we went on camera here about some of the other films that are also heist movies that we like. The Italian Job we mentioned last week,
Oh,
the Thomas Crown Affair. There's two versions of that one. The latest one with was the better one, I think. To Catch a Thief. You remember that one? That was
good grief.
yeah.
Yes.
That wasn't so much a heist movie as it was kind of a clear my name movie, where the in this case there is someone um, using the methods of a famous criminal who is now being chased by the cops, and he has to chase the person before the cops catch up to him, find out how they're going to do it, what part of his routine they were doing, and why. And that was kind of interesting, but it was almost a mystery. And then Sneakers had Robert Redford and Dan Aykroyd in
Oh,
it. You remember that one? They were people who
oh,
uh, did computer security, and then they find themselves doing a heist there to a big, I don't know, Microsoft kind of company. And then Von
right.
Ryan's
Right.
Express, which was something that had Frank Sinatra in it, and that was basically escaping from a POW camp, but it was kind of a heist type of movie as well. Um, Spy Game, you were talking about earlier, Kelly's
Oh,
Heroes,
one of my favorite films.
and there's a whole mess of them. We looked up here to find out. Let's
Inside
see.
Man should pop up on that.
Yeah, it's here. Reservoir Dogs, I didn't think about. A movie just called Heist that came out in 2001. Matchstick Men, Inside Man, The Great Train Robbery, The Sting, Dog Day Afternoon, The Getaway. Uh, let's see. Gambit, 1966. The Honeymoon Machine.
Have not seen that
Goldfinger. I
yet.
didn't think about Goldfinger as being a heist movie, but maybe. Um, Asphalt Jungle, The Lavender Hill
Breaking
Mob, which was
into Fort Knox and
right, which is a comedy, and so on. But there's more movies than that, and we picked Ocean's 11 because first of all, it's one of my favorites, and secondly, it has all of the good elements of a heist film that I think. First of all, that the people that are doing the heist are only doing it for fun. In this case, in both the 1960 and the 2011 movies, or 2001 movie, the Danny Ocean was already rich; he didn't need the money, um, and most of the people in the group didn't really is either. And so this was all a way of them to be able to do something fun. In the case of Carl Reiner's character, he's called back to do something when he's bored with his life, basically. You have Don Cheadle who's saying it's nice to be able to work with some decent criminals again, things like this, and then the other
Elliot Gould kind of had that same.
yeah, Elliot
Elliot
Gould,
Gould kind of
of
had that
course.
same. He's bored with his life too, and plenty wealthy. Yeah,
Well,
that's
he's the
gotta love
money
the way
man,
he
and he
dresses.
doesn't like Terry Benedict, and he can't do anything about it. And these guys come along, and he says, I love the line where he says, I love. He says, I. It's not that I don't appreciate what you did with the thing at the time. He makes absolutely references to something without saying whatever it was. The deal with the guy at the time,
Right, right. Yeah, I love that too.
but
Yeah, and when you first meet him, he's wearing his vest with no shirt,
right.
glasses. I mean, he just complete and the way you people are
Having
nuts.
breakfast by the pool. Yeah, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so he goes through the history of everybody that's tried to rob a casino, but he says, but you guys are professionals. I expect you'll be able to actually get out of the casino. But then what are you going to do after that? And that was kind of the whole run of the film. How are they going to get the money out if they were able to get the robbery done. So it's interesting on that part to watch, and of course the interplay, the chemistry between all the people there were just it was just amazing, don't you think?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. The chemistry with people, Don Cheadle, some of the more side characters that they bring in, but still there's great lines. Uh, he has that line about Barney Rubble.
Yeah,
It's that applies to trouble, and
yeah.
just everybody has their own sensibility. The brothers, are they twins?
Uh,
The
yeah, I guess.
they're fighting all the time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Got to
I'm
be
not.
brother, at least brother. Yeah,
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 they were playing
not
brothers.
twins.
They were the original
Yeah, playing.
casting
Yeah, 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 yeah.
called for uh, two actual brothers, and then they had conflict, couldn't be in it, and so they brought in Casey Affleck and Scott Kahn to do these to the
Ah,
two brothers. So yeah,
gotcha.
and
Yeah.
they were
Oh, and they're
perfect too because they were
they're
just
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, every single. Oh, and Bernie Mac is fantastic.
Yes,
Uh,
that's one part I really didn't get in the where he's dealing with the car dealer, how he's able to make the deal. He's shaking hands with him and apparently applying pressure until the car dealer gives him the thing. But I'm not quite sure what really was going on there. Did he think that? Did he know that Bernie Mac was a criminal and would kill him if he didn't give him the deal he wanted, or what?
Like that, we had to get it down to from 18.5 to 16,000 for the van per van. So yeah, that was an unusual, right? Not sure how that worked.
Yeah. Do you
Only it
moisturize?
felt,
I have to
it's like
moisturize.
in
Yeah.
this, yeah, yeah, but it's like this entire genre where we are the ones generally the working stiffs of the world who are uh, getting screwed in our jobs at times, not being taken advantage of in our job. And this is yet how would it's so sweet. Usually the car dealer is shaking your hand. You're wanting to see another car. Just give me the chance to leave this place and look at another car.
Yeah.
And they have all those traps to keep you in. And
Sure.
and of course when it comes to talking money, but now it's inverted. Now we're the ones making the car dealer sweat. They use it, and so that's the one thing I get out of that. It did feel good. It's like the shoes on the other foot,
Yeah. It did. It was
which
something.
this
It was
entire
something.
genre, yeah,
Yeah. I don't. In my research, I don't find anything of what they were really doing in that scene or what the car dealer had going through his mind that this that he felt threatened apparently by Bernie Mac, and so he went
not
ahead and
Bernie
made
Mac,
the
yeah,
deal. Or I'm going to shake hands with you until all the bones are broken or something. I'm thinking this is where it was going there.
yeah,
But
I get, yeah.
yeah, I think the cool factor on this film just beats anything that I've seen, even the Rat Pack film that it was based on. Which, interestingly, in 1960 they made this, and it was a script that was floating around. Peter Lawford finds out about it from a gas station attendant of all people, and buys the rights to the script, takes it to Sinatra, and says we ought to do this. And Sinatra's response after reading the script was, "We shouldn't do the movie. We should just do the job."
And so they did both. Because just like that's funny. That just like where director of Inception, Christopher Nolan
Yep.
equates, kind of in the sense we're doing another heist movie for sure. That's how we got here. But
Yeah.
but it equates the idea of making a movie as a con job, and each one of those characters from Inception. You had the money man. You had uh, uh, you had the location scout who's basically an architect. It equated the entire crew of the Inception job to a film crew, and that's kind of the same thing that you kind of think about that with Sinatra and making a movie as they're performing every night in Las Vegas together, mainly performing. Then
Yeah.
they go and make a movie. They don't get any sleep. Yeah, they drove the director nuts. Lewis Milestone, great director, and I've heard
Yeah.
that they just drove him nuts in
Yeah.
the making of that film. It's
No doubt.
amazing. You're right. It came across as a terrific film and led the way for more Rat Pack films.
It did. It,
Robin and the Seven
Robin the
Hoods,
Seven
I think
Hoods.
came out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And several others. In fact, that was a good enough film that Warner Brothers at the time, or was it Warner Brothers? I think it was that signed a contract with Sinatra to do several more films. So
right.
that was really the first serious film that he'd made, and that's pretty good.
Did
But
that, and you think about it, did that lead to the Manchurian Candidate in a kind of strange way? I mean, a
it might
fantastic
have,
film.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He was in a lot of good pictures. It's interesting how
He
you take
really is.
someone who was pretty much known as a singer. In fact,
As a
they
crooner, as a singer, you're right. You're right.
when they released Ocean's 11 in Germany, they had to uh, call him Frankie Sinatra in the credits because the Germans wouldn't be able to see past the fact that he was a singer and not
Wow.
an actor, and so they were afraid that there would be a something would keep people from going and see the film. So anyway, it was a
Wow.
successful film in its time, and it shows a lot of old Las Vegas, which is interesting to look at. All of the people who were performers performed. Sammy Davis and Sinatra and Dean Martin and all of those were actually shown performing in clubs and things like that. And so that was all kind of an interesting time capsule of Las Vegas in the early '60s, which was a completely different thing
And
than we went to
apparently
see in
the
the 2010s.
yeah, apparently Vegas has the casinos in that film, which I've done some research on the film, but I haven't seen the film, the 1960 film. Apparently,
Yeah,
the casinos were not near as big, even the gambling room. Whereas
no,
by 2001 or 2000, when they're filming Ocean's 11, I mean the place feels like it does today. It's just gigantic,
yeah,
ostentatious,
yeah.
and
The
gigantic
strip
size.
was yeah the strip was Blacktop Road, and they had a bus, what they call the number 10 bus, that would go and turn in. They could turn into all of the casinos, or no exits or things like that. And so it was a much more rural looking area than it did years later. And in fact, in the second movie, where they're leaving after looking at the Bellagio fountain, they had to drain out part of the fountain in order for them to be able to exit, because they couldn't step out on the street because there was too much traffic there. And so they put a guardrail there, which isn't normally there. Because Christine and I went to there in the I think 2010 or something like that, and it was it's a very narrow area from the fountain to the road. There's not much room to move around. We
Right.
did stand in front of the fountain before we ever saw this film, and they played music and things like that while the fountain was on. Interestingly, they opened this
What
film
do you
with
know?
yeah.
Do you know what casino they blow up? Because it's funny. There was a casino. It might have been the Sands. They blew up in 1996. Kind of, back when watching movies blow up was kind of a thing. CNN would do a
Yeah,
cut in, and you could watch they show that in the movie, because you can see. I think it's anyway. Don Cheadle might have been watching TV. It's what's funny is it's happening behind him in real life, but he's staring at the TV
yeah. I thought that
watching
was
the
funny too.
explosion as if it's we don't believe anything unless it's on TV. Whereas he could just turn around and see that explosion. But from watching the documentary about I'm wondering if that was the 1996, if that was the footage from the 96 casino that blew up. I'm not sure,
I
but
don't know. The original idea was to blow up New York, New York, but this was
uh
released in 2001, and so there was
right.
too much memory still of the 9/11 attack on New York, so they changed that to another hotel. So I don't know which one that they
Another
used. I don't
hotel.
remember. Yeah,
Oh, I know we need to dive into the film, but you and I have been talking about what came out at that time, and I kept
yeah,
thinking of the films. For this film to be out at that time, um, it's literally 3 months after 9/11, and this film came
Yeah.
out on December 7th, 2001. And yeah, and Harry Potter is out there, Spy Game is out there running, Brad Pitt's acting against himself, but it's all just post 9/11. That's fascinating, that what you
Yeah.
said about the New York. It's yeah. That's why they may have. That's interesting because we were watching him watch the TV, and it's there's one interesting theorist that says we're more interested in representations of reality as opposed to reality itself. That the age we live in is representations of representations, and
Yeah.
there he is watching it on TV, and it's right behind him.
Yeah,
But
I think if he had been actually watching the out the window, he might not have noticed the lights went out because that's what triggered the power
ah,
outage. So
that's
he had
right.
to be watching the TV for the TV to go out and then be struck into oh, what we were planning to do has just happened.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And so of course they have to come up with a plan B, which is the most science fictional element of the entire film. The,
Yeah.
the EMP thing that
The
they get.
EMP, if yeah, the only way that they could have actually blacked out the city was with an actual nuke. And using the pinch, it
Ah,
would have had to have been a whole lot bigger. And even then, it would have only just taken the lights out in the room you were in. So the whole idea of it was completely ridiculous, and there wasn't enough power in the batteries in the car that they had that would have made it work at all. Barely
to
enough
make
to
it
make it
work.
light up. So there you go.
But like good science fiction, I bought it. They used enough
Yeah,
a little bit of science, and they stole it from a research institute, a university type
yeah,
place, and that was
yeah. I think it was actually the was it Berkeley that that was their behavioral science building at Berkeley that they used for that scene.
Oh, gotcha. And so the actual use of that machine is to correct autism. No, I'm kidding.
No, no,
That's bad.
no. They just built a machine.
They should be able to, yeah. But that institute looked great,
It
and then
did.
Brad Pitt having to, I mean, not no, it was Matt Damon having to jump out a window. That was what every one of these films goes off kilter. No matter how well planned, and I know we're going to talk about it. The meticulous planning. One of your favorite scenes connects to the idea of how well planned it's got to be.
Yeah,
The speech George Clooney gives, and so the planning, the details, and yet they go off track like any good heist film do. They go off track. That's one of the most enjoyable ways that they went off track. All Matt Damon has to do is sit in the car. And it would have been simpler if they'd have just let Matt Damon go in the building. But no, he's got to sit in the car, and the brothers cannot stop arguing.
yeah. And
And
he just
then
has
he
enough.
leaves the van. Yeah.
That's
And
absolutely it.
and it's just amazing. It feels like there's a deleted scene that would talk about a little bit more about the gravity of the Chinese performers' hand injuries, but they really don't. That you just know that happened, and you know that's the result of what Brad Pitt,
Yeah.
Matt Damon did. But
Well, you know, Soderbergh
but
said that
yeah, so
he wanted an entertaining movie where nobody got hurt bad, and that went through the whole thing. That really nobody was badly hurt anywhere in the story of the film, which is interesting.
do we hear that kind of philosophy from Danny Ocean too? We're going to pull this off. Nobody's going to get hurt. Kind of kind of a little bit of a almost like the way Bonnie and Clyde, to set them up as good thieves.
Yeah,
We contrast that we're shown the people that whose farms and businesses have been foreclosed, and Bonnie and Clyde visit them, and so you're on the side of the oppressed. You're on the side of the people that have had everything taken from them. So you kind of get a sense of, like Bonnie and Clyde, or at least in that 1967 film, that they're better, that they're kind of the good guys. What about what about some positioning here in this film, like not hurting anybody? Um, do we kind of take some time? Does Danny Ocean talk about that?
Um, Probably so
It feels like it's
in
there for
Ruben's
some reason.
house. They talk about the plan, uh, I think that he says something about that there. But yeah, I don't think they harp
Yeah,
on it
because
very
it's
much. But
there.
certainly Soderbergh did, and
No,
he did not want to show any. I mean, nobody dies in this film.
right, and it works beautifully. Yeah, the worst injury is probably to the with the guy with the performer's hand.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just enough to just add a little more tension to it. But obviously, he's fine afterwards. He
Right.
just had his hand, closed in a door. That's happened.
Yeah.
But another thing that they did in this, they had Brad Pitt eating something in every scene, and the stated reason was that they show him as being such a busy guy, he never has time to stop and eat, and so he's always just grabbing some fast food something and just eating something. In truth, George Clooney said that everybody was kind of jealous of the fact that Brad Pitt has such an athletic physique. They wanted him to eat junk food throughout this film. And in the case where they filmed Julia Roberts, uh, he's eating shrimp, and they said he ate about 50 shrimps doing, recuts of retakes of that scene.
And he's just sitting at the table, right? In that
Well,
in
yeah,
that scene.
they're standing. They're there. Just, I don't think he ever sat to eat. He was standing, and they were.
He was standing the entire time.
He was
Yeah.
getting the briefing from Matt Damon on what happened in the casino, and they see Julia Roberts come down the stairs, and he said, "This is my favorite part of the day." And during that time, Brad Pitt is eating
That's right.
cocktail shrimp, and they had to reshoot that scene several times until he was eating like 40 or 50 shrimp.
Now I've got two quick questions. Okay, one,
Okay.
I got to hold that thought in mind. The elevator, you're coming down. Favorite part of the day, Julia Roberts. The other thing is, what in your favorite scene? Your favorite scene is the George Clooney, Danny Ocean kind of a speech
Yes.
where Brad Pitt is. And what do you like about that? What's
Uh, it,
what
it,
what
it,
what?
it's obviously a scripted bit. They have a lot of
Right.
things that sound very natural, and in this particular case, this is obviously scripted. Why are you going to do this? And it's the big pie in the sky kind of thing, because the casino always wins, because the big guys always get all the money, because the little guys are taken. But one time, if you have just the right conditions and you bet big, you can take the house. And after this
Ah,
very speechified speech, he says, "You rehearsed that, didn't you?"
yeah,
He says, "Yeah, I thought I came a little too fast. Was it a little too
and
fast?"
I'm
And beyond, it breaks that uh, obviously book moment on that, and goes
right,
back to their
right,
usual kind of
right.
yeah.
Reminds me of the speech in Little Giants when you think about one time we could pull this off. But it was so was he? I'm guessing he was eating in that speech. That when Brad Pitt might have been munching on something because I'm trying to remember in my mind's eye if he's munching on a little bit during the speech. He could have been because you mentioned he's eating all the time.
Yes, yes, in every scene. Yeah, that's after they've gone to they've broken into the county office to see the plans for the Bellagio.
Ah, right, exactly. Yeah, they do that so well. It almost doesn't count as a prize. I'm thinking, how what? How are they looking at these plants? Yeah, it's just it's yeah, beautifully
Well, the
done.
security guard
That's a
comes
little
in
bit of an
and
inside.
says, "Thank you, Frank," and Frank says, "Anything for you?" And then obviously some money is passed hands there.
Exactly. Yeah, that's well. The other thing. Okay, so something always goes wrong. Probably. So we had Matt Damon getting out of the van. What about the entire plot with Andy Garcia? The and I'm going to get my wife back. And of course, Brad Pitt says, if this is about your wife, this can't be about your wife. You
Yeah,
can't.
we're out.
This
We're
has
all
got
out
to
if
be
that's the
about
case. Yeah,
yeah.
this has got to be just
But
about the
it is
money.
about his wife.
Yeah,
And so he's completely dismissed it at a certain point. He said, "You're out. You're done. You're cooked." And I'm thinking, man, that's are we going to see Danny Ocean? When are we going to see him back? because it's been a good while since I'd seen the film.
Right.
And
But we see him on the
the
in the
first scene
elevator
he
shaft
comes
with,
back,
yeah. You know,
exactly.
he's in the elevator shaft with Matt Damon, and he says, he said, "You think I'm gonna lose out on all the fun?" And obviously his conversation with Brad Pitt was, uh, you know, cover for everybody else. That was actually, it was aimed at us to make us think that wasn't
Exactly.
part of the plan.
Right.
So I'm
Right.
thinking I'm
Give
thinking
cover
that it
for it all.
probably, yeah, it's one of those few times in the movie where what they were doing was misleading the audience rather than anybody that's in the scene.
And they did a good job.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's so many successful diversions. Just you're just yeah, and yet at the same time, in some films like Mission Impossible films, sometimes you may find yourself. I don't know. This is as challenging. I've got my IMF shirt on, the Impossible Missions Force, and 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 speaking of that, two of the best Mission Impossibles are have heist elements to them within the Mission
Yeah,
Impossible film. Because Mission Impossible is definitely, you wouldn't put them as in the heist genre, but they have heist elements, heist sequences within the films.
sure.
One of the best, of course, is when and we one yeah, good article that talks about, written by, give her credit, John Hainich, that excuse me, Julian Hainich,
Ah,
that really good article that talks about in that in all heist films that basically the tools of the usual tools for heist, our team, become extensions of their bodies, but then there's usually one member. So in other words, handling tools, they're so good at it, whereas when I'm working on something, I'm going to drop that tool a lot of the time. Whoops, just pick up the flathead screwdriver.
yeah,
You can't drop the tool in these films. That's gonna break alarms, send alarms off. You can drop anything. And so then you also get a member of the crew who's an acrobat, who not only is their tools are an extension of their body, their entire body can become a tool.
yeah.
And here in this film, you've got the Chinese acrobat that's just incredible. Tom Cruise
He was
basically
actually
becomes
performing in
that in
Vegas when
the
they
first
cast
Mission
him.
Impossible movie.
Yeah. He was actually performing in Vegas when they hired him.
No,
He spoke almost no English, and so they had a translator off camera to allow him to jump in with his lines, and his lines were all in Chinese, and they just answered him like they understood what he was saying, and I thought that was kind of
that
clever
is
too.
wow,
And they used no
that's incredible.
subtitles for the audience because it was quite obvious by the nature of the answer what he was saying. It was kind of like what they do with silent characters sometimes. You know,
Right, and
the Silent Bob, he doesn't say anything, but the other guy seems to know what he means.
right, right, and he's
So
this guy's a master of nonverbal communication anyway,
yeah,
and just oh, so yeah, that completely fits in with that member of the team. And this is a little out there. When we think about our team, why do we follow this team? Why do we care about this team in this genre? Um, did this? It seemed like this team had just about everybody you needed. And one thing that was fascinating, we were talking before the podcast, the elements that they're looking for. Normally we're looking, got to have a driver, got to have a money man, you got to, and but I thought it was so clever the way they really make the
yeah,
audience think, and you got to be up with your
yeah.
pop culture in their references
Well, they
to.
do it without really telling you what it is that they're actually doing, and it sounds like they're just
Yes,
throwing gobbledygook at you, but they actually do this. Off the top of my
right.
head, Rusty says, off the top of my head, I'd say you're looking at a Boesky, a Jim Brown, a Miss Daisy, two Jethros, and a Leon Spinks, not to mention the biggest Ella Fitzgerald ever. And all of these were just invented by Soderbergh, but they all actually happened within the film. The Boesky was basically Carl Reiner playing the big money man. The Miss Daisy was getting the vans in order to. It was three vans that they had for. One was the ambulance, and one was the remote control truck, which goes back to the remote control car in the very beginning of the film with the brothers. Um, the the Leon Spinks is the fight scene where they turn the lights out. The Ella Fitzgerald is the loop tape that they use for the vault while that covers the robbery, and that's all in there. So and two Jethros.
Tying
That's
to a
that was the
Memorex tape
brothers.
commercial,
Yeah, the Memorex tape
and that
commercial
ties
was at
to a
Livers
Memorex
at
tape
Memorex,
commercial.
and so and it was Ella Fitzgerald singing in that breaks the glass, recorded on the Memorex cassette.
I
So
love that.
yeah, but anyway,
Yeah,
that's clever there. It was made up, and the Barney thing that you like is also made up. John Cheadle, who was faking a Cockney accent, which he wasn't confident with, honestly, but Cockney criminals would use kind of coded things that rhymed with the things they were doing, and so we're in Barney, Barney Rubble Rubble Trouble was used there.
right.
So
But
that's
which
yeah.
makes part of the problem of a heist film. I don't actually view it as a problem. I've always the parts of Mission Impossible. I love Mr. Phelps getting the mission. It's funny.
Oh yeah,
When I'm
everybody
watching
loved the
some of the
tape
older
that
Mission Impossible.
self-destructed.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But it's all exposition. How are you going to make this? Lay out. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? How are we going to break in? What are the obstacles? It's like 30 minutes of exposition, and it's just exposition, explaining, which of course is the most deadly part of most films.
Yes.
Exposition. Can I just read it on my phone and then I'll be good to go? But we need to watch it. So those code words made the whole thing fun, made it engaging. You're thinking. The closest thing to the other exposition, which felt like was, and I really thought they said, well, can we have the next slide, please? And I thought my mind went to X-Files episodes where Fox Mulder would actually have a Kodak carousel
Yeah,
slide
always
projector.
did.
I
Yeah.
thought, ooh, it's 2001. Is this? But instead, we see computer animation on the walls.
Yeah.
It was computer animation on a big monitor, which was high tech exposition for that time.
But then
When
again,
they got the group together.
they're in a millionaire's house, and he would of course have all the latest
Ah,
stuff.
you would have the latest
Ruben's
gadgets, the
house.
latest fun stuff. Yeah, I was exactly that completely
Now,
makes sense.
something that I
I mean
like,
that technology. Yeah,
the way that Carl Reiner was supposed to play his character, and we're not saying the character that he plays in film, but the character of oh, what was his name? That was
starts with a Z. Lots,
no, yeah, Saul.
Mr. Zuma.
Yeah, my name is
Yeah.
Ethan Zeriga. But no, in his character
Yes.
Saul, Soderbergh told him that he needed to play it like the former homecoming queen that doesn't get asked out anymore. And especially in the scene where they're fitting him for the Zerga suit, uh, uh, Danny says, you sure you're ready for this? And the way he answers that, Daniel, if you say anything like that again, I will kill you, or something like that. It's spoken like a disgruntled matron. It's very well
Right.
acted.
I can feel the homecoming queen in that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's and this all adds just another thing that it's funny. This movie brings up the idea of what it is to be entertained, and it's interesting. Comes out after 9/11, probably perfect timing in a way. So many times we want a film that has got some social meaning,
yeah,
and it's almost and we're really live in an age where a lot of films do that. They're metaphors for more social for social meaning. But this is just fun entertainment,
it really is.
and and yet they're say it again.
Well, it's something like Louis B. Mayer was stepped in for a story conference, and they were trying to come up with just what the movie had to be about. What was the core thing this movie is about? And Mayer came in and said it's about an actor and an actress, and I see that in this film. It's
Well put.
basically you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney and Julia Roberts, and put a plot around that, and we'll watch it.
Right, right. And if they give, and it with the heist genre itself of why we watch these things, one thing behind it all is we root for them. They are giving
Yes.
they are delightful, incredibly smart, fun, famous. In a sense, we're watching them. We're rooting for them, and they are giving the middle finger to the man in almost every one of these films. And this one they give the middle finger and get your wife back at the same
It,
time. A lot
right,
of
right.
motivations in the
They're
film.
giving it to the man right in front of him too. That's the funny thing about it. And as they're preparing, um, as Brad Pitt is preparing Linus for his meeting with Benedict, be funny but don't make him laugh. Make him forget you right after he sees you, and the most important thing, and he's called away. He just walks off, and Linus saying, "Wait, what? What's the most
We
important
never
thing?"
know.
No.
And yet he does it perfectly.
Yes.
That reminds me of another element of these films too. And this is again this article really good. She points out that there one thing that makes you mentioned where they got to see the plans, they managed to get into and actually look at the security plans. There's also something in the human condition where the guards who stand in for just regular people often let things go. It's a mistake, a critical mistake sometimes made by our team, our incredibly talented team, but they make a mistake. And yet it's overlooked. And somehow the van price comes down to something they can afford. One big mistake in this one, and I was looking for the way this what she calls the mistake and the way she kind of this oddity of the human condition, oddity of the police guards who simply this was in a different film. Is a film with Peter O'Toole, How to Steal a Million. And Peter O'Toole, his boomerang cuts across the laser line, but there's an oddity of the police guards who simply refuse to reactivate the alarm system after it goes off. Much as the criminal's skillful movements resemble those of dancers, the overall design of the plan purposely reminds us as a work of art. But just of some of the regular people, like human beings, and how we sometimes stop paying attention to what we need to do. Not our crew; these are the guards. The one that got me is when the guy, I can't remember his name, but he goes and he's hacking in to the camera system, and he goes way behind the scenes in the IT of the casinos, hacks in the sound system, but he leaves his little Casio TV. I think he has he's got one of those little
Yes.
TVs where he could see what, and he leaves it behind. He never looks really convincing, as he looks like he gets confused as to where he's supposed to go. He's got his hands, directions are written on his palm, and then he leaves his TV, goes back, and no, that's right, leaves his TV, and then a guard is coming after him, and you think, oh my goodness, he's looked suspicious enough, he's going to get caught. But the guard is giving him his TV back, his little cassette.
Yeah.
But that's a critical thing in all these films that the guards either don't pay attention or they're kind enough to make up for some critical mistake.
Yeah. I thought about that, and really the fact that the character was one who looked like somebody that would be working in IT.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
so
true.
he didn't look like a criminal. He just looked like a geek. And the generally speaking, what's put right in your face is what people will ignore. I've seen this done in other shows where they go right in front. They go right in front of the guards and say something real loudly, and they're ignored because it's embarrassing. And I think that's some part of this. How's the reception thing? It's just great.
Yeah, they know who we are. To right, yeah, and the guard would have seen plenty of IT guys. That's one of those weird IT guys, and he left his stuff behind like they do. I'm gonna,
Yeah.
So it just
That,
fit in with his perception, with his
that character. Yeah, that character was Livingston Dell. He's played by Eddie Jemison. I haven't seen him in anything else that I know of.
Ah,
But he's they wanted him to be like Radar on MASH. In fact, in the opening scene where he's working with the FBI, they have him in the Radar hat and glasses, and that's
Yeah,
kind
so
of what they want for that
right.
character, and he plays it pretty well.
The communication expert. Right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
exactly
Don't touch that. Calm down, Radio Shack.
right. That's exact. Radio Shack had to come up in this film,
It did,
and
but
that's where I got my Casio TV.
so much of it just works so well. I mean, not only just
Oh,
the chemistry between the actors, but just how well cast they were for everything. I mean, you could believe Scott Conn and Casey Affleck could be could be brothers, and they could be just like that. In fact, Scott Conn in Hawaii Five O later was doing basically the same part, just as Danny Williams. And then you have you could believe Elliot Gould to be old money and old time
oh yeah.
casino owner, things like that. He had one of the best lines there too. You rip off Terry Benedict, he'll kill you, and then he'll go to work on you.
And I believe the casino that was being blown up had something to do with his desire for final retribution.
Yes, it was one of his casinos that basically Benedict cheated him out of, and so
That's right.
he was going to tear it down and build something else in its place, and so that's why he was there. It was formerly his
You
casino,
know,
and so they were doing him kind of in tribute for having been the person that built it. But it was basically shoving in his face that they're taking his failed casino and building something else. So he had good reason
that
not to be happy with him.
absolutely, and it was just completely the way this film structures in. They'll mention something. Good films do this. They layer in things, and we
Yes.
catch the full. By the time with that line, "How are you going to get out of here?" by Elliot Gould, um, it the time you've seen so many diversions, so many fascinating schemes within schemes, schemes within schemes within schemes, all working, and at the end, then finally, when you see the SWAT, you go, then you're taken back to that layer of what he said. That's right. They got to get out of here, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah, everything
unbelievable.
everything
That's
interweaves so well. I mean, from the first scene with the brothers where he's running the radio controlled car, and you think
right,
it's just a
right,
throwaway scene where Casey Affleck turns his truck and just runs over the model, but the
right.
idea that Scott Conn was good with radio control devices means now that they can use that for the van that has the fake money in it, and yeah, the Benedict foreshadows, not Benedict, am I saying Luther? Is it Luther? Um, Doggone Reuben, as you mentioned, foreshadows the how are they going to get out of their thing. Also the way they blow the safe. Actually, Don Cheadle, when they first introduced him, is blowing a safe the same way that they were doing it for the vault at the Bellagio. The only thing was that they
Right.
didn't
That
disable the security system. By the way, something about
right.
Don Cheadle on here,
Right.
you might he is not credited in the film. He's not in the.
No.
No, he's not, and it's due to a fact that he wanted to be in the same lineup as George Clooney and Brad Pitt, and they said no, we'll put you in the post credits, and he didn't want that, and so he had his name taken out of it altogether, and so his name is not on the film.
That is amazing. I can see his point of view. He's a critical character in there,
Yes.
and wow, that is amazing. That
Now
is amazing.
they
Oof.
fixed that. They fixed
Yeah.
that in Ocean's 12 and Ocean's 13. He was before the title in all of those.
That as they should have. That's
Yeah.
wow. That is amazing. It's all right. Just well, in these films, and this didn't come up necessarily in this really interesting genre, study of the genre. It's really a genre. I mean, people will study science fiction, they'll study monster films, they'll study subgenres, and I'm sure the heist films are a subgenre of another film,
Yes.
but another genre. But really,
Yes.
it is. There's not a lot of study specifically on heist films, and there's a lot we expect out of the genre. I mean, it is a fully fleshed out genre that appeals to people. It's got and we looked at some of the reasons, that middle finger reason that we that has that appeal in this genre, kind of on a deep level. But we love the teamwork. We love the silence in the films. We love the quiet. There's always a quiet part of the
Yes.
film where you're just watching. Nothing can be loud in the film. You breaking into these places requires sneakers, requires element of softness on the floor, so nothing can be heard. So there's all these elements that come together. But one thing, two things, real quick about this genre. For one thing, they are thieves, ethically breaking the law, taking
Yes.
money from another person.
Yes.
And one of the reviews in the 1960 film, which was a different world than 2001, 40 years later, one of the films says, this is entertaining watching these chaps take this money from the casino, but they are thieves. They're burglars. They're doing
Yeah,
something
and in
wrong.
in
We
the
don't even think
1960,
about
yeah, yeah, in the 1960 film, they wouldn't have been allowed to get away with it, and both versions of the script that they had eventually, they didn't. That's the thing. I mean, they may
they
not have
did
gotten
not.
arrested, but they did not get the money, and that's something that probably was in the movie code at that time. The criminals can't come out on top, and the criminal code. I mean, the movie code wasn't broken until Hitchcock did it with doggone it, shower scene.
Yeah, oh, Psycho, which
Psycho.
comes out in about 1960,
Right.
watershed
By
year
showing
for all of
a
these
brief
changes.
nude scene, they it basically breaks the old Hayes Code. But before that,
But
you yeah.
and you look at the idea of blacklisting being broken at the same time
Yeah.
when President-elect Kennedy, or he's campaigning, or President-elect goes to see Spartacus, where they actually put the name of the writer. And here I'm blanking out with the name. Who was he was blacklisted in the 50s, but for Spartacus he said no. Just like Don Cheadle wanted some acknowledgement, he wanted acknowledgement,
Yeah.
and so the writer gets acknowledged. And Kennedy, yeah, yeah, and so 1960, watershed year for these things. So
Mm-hmm.
that you actually led into my next question: is we want in most of these movies, even before the code, we were, I think, rooting that they could get away with the money in almost every one of these films, even if maybe
Yes.
somebody got hurt. You kind of overlook that, but you're rooting for them to get away. And you provided the answer. That's part of the code, and of why. And so, what are some of your favorite films, or have you got some films in the genre where they don't get away with the money, but you wish they did? Or conversely, Ocean's 11, they get away with the money. That does not happen all the time at all.
That's
That
true. That's true.
are
Well, in the Thomas Crown Affair, the remake of the Thomas Crown Affair, it starts out with him stealing a painting, and then they go through all the elaborate things, and then find at the end of the film that he never stole the painting. He just painted over it, and caused the fire alarm to go off, washed the paint over, it was watercolor paint, over the painting, and it goes right back where it started from. He really did not care about taking anything, really. He just wanted to get away with it. And he got away with something that essentially did no harm.
right,
He did
right.
make off with the painting. He painted
That's
over it, and then he gave to the museum this other one that hung in its place, which was a
wow.
fake. And then when he causes the fire doors not to close. The fire sprinklers come on and washes the watercolor off, and the painting is back. And so at the end of the Thomas Crown affair, he ends up with the girl, but he doesn't get anything. He says he doesn't need it. He just wanted to pull the heist.
That might be in the plot spoiler category. I'm not sure, but
Well, yeah, I mean, we're
not,
assuming that you've seen all these pictures, but
oh, we constantly. It's your job to watch a little bit of these films beforehand. Yeah, 100%.
and of course, in the
Dalton
other
Trumbo.
cases, like the Italian Job, they're basically trying to get back from someone who's already stolen from them. So that's in the case of the Italian Job, that's basically it. They were getting back what was already they were supposed to have, and then in To Catch a Thief, the robbery is averted when he catches a person impersonating him, basically, and I guess. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, Kelly's Heroes, they do get away with, millions of dollars in gold, but it was German gold during the war, so perhaps that doesn't count. Of course, that was made much later after the code, but
68, yeah, or
that's
70, yeah.
post-code, yeah.
Inception, they pull off the job in Inception.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only way they would.
But yeah,
and
they do it
we
for a higher
discussed it.
purpose, though, don't they?
Good point. They do, yeah, for a higher purpose. Yeah. So you're right. We it kind of presents the idea of one company, but what if one big company? But what if he would become even bigger than that? Yeah, you're right. It's a higher purpose. And Dalton Trumbo, I know you were thinking of the name when I was going for the writer of Spartacus, Dalton Trumbo, who had been blacklisted 1960. Kennedy goes to see that film. That's a watershed year. That is a watershed year. So that's an interesting one thing you mentioned in the Italian Job too, and it kind of ties to the fact that these are thieves and they're taking people's money. Now we've come to, and maybe we've been at this for a while, is that instead of thinking that them as burglars or thieves, we're also thinking it's like where do we draw the line? What becomes a true evil or criminal act? One writer points out that his name Will Wright writes about his name is Will Wright writes about genres, and he points out that in the stage of he basically connects a lot of things to the stage of capitalism that we're in, and he says we're in the late multinational capitalism, as you know, that's kind of where we as capitalism has developed through the years, and he ties that to developments in films and film genres, and he sees it in the heist film where we're not really concerned about the robbery itself, but it's our loyalty to the team. What we care about at this stage is our loyalty to the team, and being disloyal to the team, that's the crime. And that doesn't come up in Ocean's 11.
It does not.
But
it
comes
does
up
the
in
Italian Job, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's there's a good reason to like heist films, though. I mean, it's not because you side with the criminals. It's just because they've got a plan, and it's nice to see a plan come together. And when
while we're spilling, all our job is to do is to sit quietly and watch, but and just be in awe. But we're so impressed, and the best we can do is to perhaps not spill our cheese nachos onto our keyboard while maybe we're at home multitasking, messing with our phone, and that's our job. And so we admire these people who can pull off this technical wizardry with their minds, their bodies, using silence. We we're an audience tailor-made.
It's also kind of a feel-good movie. In each case, there was somebody that wasn't happy with their current situation. You know, we already mentioned Don Cheadle didn't like the fact that he was working with substandard criminals and getting almost caught for blowing a safe. We have Carl Reiner, who has been kind of sidelined. You have Brad Pitt, who's having to teach young movie stars, which he actually used young stars to teach them poker. You have Um,
Brilliant.
yeah, you have the pickpocket who is not making any real money. He's just picking pockets on a bus from people leaving Wall Street or
Right.
something, and of course Bernie Mac's character has been banned from working in Las Vegas, so he's having to work in Atlantic City, and so nobody's happy with their situation, and so.
Right.
Um, and Danny Ocean was in jail. So I mean, you take all that together, and then you have Julia Roberts, who is palled up with the oh shoot
Andy Garcia or
Andy Garcia. What was his name? That was
oh, I'm with you
somebody
on
that's
that.
watching this is telling us it's Benedict.
I know.
Uh,
I can
yeah,
hear him
Benedict. I
telling
heard.
me Dalton Trumbo.
Yeah. So, but she seems to be in a stable but not necessarily happy relationship with Benedict, and so
Right.
none of them are very happy at the beginning, but all have something to be happy about at the end. We've been able to do something substantial, and we've been able to hit somebody
Yeah.
that's about as bad as we are really, but he's the only one that's left more uh, not unhappy as he is just confused by how all this could happen, and so
Right.
that works out. And by the next movie, they bring him in on it, and he's able to be the 12th. So there you go. Although Ocean's 12 wasn't nearly
Oh,
that good of a picture, and he gets to be one of the criminals, and he also gets to be one of the victims too, just because the whole thing in that film where he ends up making a giant uh, charitable contribution to one of Oprah's charities or something like that, so he can be on Oprah and tell his story, and so it's kind of a good and a bad for him, but that's another film.
that does work for me. Yeah, I don't know if you call the Pirates of the Caribbean a heist film, but that actually, when you have the first bad pirate in the first one, but then they bring him in the end of the second one, you know who we're going to need to pull this off, and so then they bring in the totally bad pirate from the first one, and he becomes part of the crew. I think
Yeah,
as a series evolves, that can be a really good turn in the series. I've heard that the last some reviewers say the last two movies add up to one pretty good film if you put them together. Um,
yeah, I would say.
Ebert was Ebert gave Ocean's 11 3 stars and was kind of but he was basically saying I've been entertained but I expected somewhat more, and yet 3 stars out of 4 is a darn good review from a Roger Ebert, because he doesn't do 3 out of 5, he does 3 out of 4, so that would
Yeah,
have been a complete thumbs up. So I think maybe he was it almost makes you wonder if he was slightly embarrassed to just say I just had a great time, and it was a lot of fun,
yeah.
and there's some elements in this genre where there is a little deeper meaning. We go to films for a reason. There's usually something that, but still on but
Well,
bottom
Ebert didn't
line,
care much for
even with
Star
all those
Wars either.
factors, there's an actress and an actor. Yeah, what were you saying?
I was saying Ebert really wasn't all that fond of Star Wars when it first came out.
That's true, famously so.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
changed his mind later.
Considered it a bit, yeah. Yes, that's exactly right. So yeah, it does make you think. It just makes you appreciate being entertained and watching people work well together, and just a lot of things go in the mix. There's way more to unpack than when you first think about why do we go to these films and what makes them work. But
Well,
they
it has some
are.
of the
I
best
love the
dialogue.
genre.
I think if we went, I have not actually gone through the quotes, but there's just so many quotable lines in this. Um, there's a 95-pound Chinese man with $160 million behind this door. Let's get him out.
Right. That's
Um,
exactly right.
and one of my favorite scenes, 10 ought to do it, don't you think? Rusty is just staring off into space. He says, "You think we need one more?" Rusty once again doesn't react at all. Danny says, "You think we need one more? All right, we'll get one more." And it was just a real
Right.
quick scene there, but it was one of those that was clever. There was a lot of clever stuff
Oh,
in this. Um,
clever stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and here's the speech. Yesterday, I walked out of the joint after losing 4 years of my life, and you're cold decking 10 beat cover boys to to um, to Rusty. Because the house always wins. Play long enough, you never change the stakes. The house takes you, unless when that perfect hand comes along, you bet big, and then you take the house. Been practicing that speech, haven't you? A little bit. Did I rush it? Felt like I rushed it. No, it was good. I liked it. Teen beat thing was harsh. So that was that bit there. And let's see, they
I got
have
into
the
Brad Pitt. I took a bite of oatmeal while you he
yeah.
needed to be eating while you were
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. And then the just one of the things about Turk and Virgil when they're having one of their fights. You know, watch it, bud. Who you calling bud, pal? Who you calling pal, friend? Who you calling friend, jackass? Don't call me a jackass. I just did call you a jackass. I mean, just rapid fire. There had to be just 1,000 pages to the script. And Saul, I have a question.
Oh,
Say we
absolutely.
get into the cage and through the security doors there and down the elevator we can't move and past the guards with the guns and into the vault we can't open. Rusty says without being seen by the cameras. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, well, we say we do all that. We're just supposed to walk out of there with $150 million in cash on us without getting stopped. Danny says, yeah. And Carl Reiner says, oh, okay.
Yeah, that okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so good.
But
Oh,
there's
what
the
a
thousand.
cast. Ah,
Oh, and this is the other one. Ruben is saying, look, we all go way back, and I owe you from the thing with the guy in the place, and I'll never forget it. I rather like that. Danny says that was our
yeah, with the
pleasure.
guy with the yeah.
Rusty says, I've never been to Belize. And
Oh, I love
but
that line.
there's a bunch of good
And
ones
the
there.
guy, the thing in the place.
Yeah, the guy in the thing of the place.
Oh,
Which one is
yeah.
the amazing yin? He's the little Chinese guy, and that was there were about 5 of them there, so it's all very very clever stuff. So that's what I like about this film.
Oh,
You can watch it over and over because of the dialogue. That there's so much of this, between Tess and Danny. You're a thief. I only lied about being a thief. I don't do that anymore. Steal, lie. Which is no.
that was good too. That was
She says I'm with someone who doesn't have to make that kind of distinction. He says no. It's very clear. He's very clear on both. So it's pretty good.
and sometimes you just need some dumb luck too. Now, I was thinking you reminded me with when he was our Chinese
Yeah.
acrobat was in the
Yeah.
vault, and then he's fumbling around. He's already got his hand bandaged up, but then that briefcase is in the wrong spot, and so when he pops out, the briefcase, as I remember, should not touch the floor,
Right.
but it
This is the
gets caught
floor sensors. Yeah.
on a chain. Yeah, just dumb luck. Yeah,
Yeah.
we need luck too.
There's a little dumb luck. There are a few mistakes, but they're able to get past them. I kind of like the one where they didn't have the batteries in the detonator, but they had them in
Oh,
their pocket. So I mean, it all works. It all
oh my
works. So
God, saved his life. Yeah,
yeah.
that's exactly right. Oh, that was delightful. That was delightful.
Yes. So what else is there to say about this? We're nearing the end of our allotted time here, but I have always, as always, I enjoy speaking with you, even though both of us have lost enough brain cells that we can't remember all the characters' names. But I hope this was entertaining for someone.
Me too. I mean, it is a delightful film. It's funny in the unpacking of it. I just want to see it again, and
Yeah.
it is such a fun film. And oh yeah, one of the best of the genre. I mean, just one of the best of this genre. Just and I love Soderbergh's rules. I think that helped out. I think it's so unusual to have that. Nobody gets hurt. It was
Yeah.
terrific.
So that's that is the heist films for you, specifically Ocean's 11. We hope that you enjoyed it. Thanks for being with us, and we'll be back next week talking about something else. Never know what, something in the movies that struck our fancy and that we want to share with you. So thank you for joining us, and
We'll grow some more brain cells. Yeah,
we'll do our best in growing more.
we'll grow some more
cells.
brain cells. But
We'll see if they're good for anything. Until next time, don't go far.